Welcome to War Bios, the podcast where we delve into the most pivotal conflicts in history, examining the strategic context, operational art, and human cost of warfare. I'm your host, General Biography, and today we're going to explore one of the most significant battles in American history, the Battle of Fort Sumter, which marked the beginning of the American Civil War. The year is 1861, and tensions between the northern and southern states have been escalating for decades, fueled by disagreements over slavery, states' rights, and economic and cultural differences. The air is thick with tension as the Confederacy, formed in February 1861, begins to take shape. On December 20, 1860, South Carolina secedes from the Union, citing the federal government's failure to protect its rights as a state. This bold move sets off a chain reaction, with 6 more southern states following suit over the next few months. The Confederacy, with its provisional capital in Montgomery, Alabama, begins to organize its military forces, determined to defend its newfound independence. In Charleston, the strategic harbor and fortifications make it a crucial location for both the Union and the Confederacy. Fort Sumter, constructed on a man-made island in the harbor, is a federal stronghold, garrisoned by a small contingent of Union troops under the command of Major Robert Anderson. The fort's walls are sturdy, but its supplies are limited, and the Confederates are determined to capture it. As we explore the origins of the Battle of Fort Sumter, it's essential to understand the key players involved in this drama. Major Anderson, a native Kentuckian with strong Southern roots, is a pivotal figure whose decisions will shape the course of events. The Confederates, led by General P.G.T.T. Beauregard, a charismatic and experienced military leader, are determined to capture the fort and assert their independence from the United States. On December 26, 1860, Anderson makes the fateful decision to transfer his troops from Fort Moultrie, which is vulnerable to land-based attacks, to Fort Sumter, which is more secure and better equipped to withstand a siege. This move is seen as a provocation by the Confederates, who begin to besiege the fort, cutting off supply lines and preparing for a potential assault. The city of Charleston, with its rich history and cultural significance, is also a crucial factor in this conflict. The city's inhabitants, who have long been sympathetic to the Confederate cause, are now openly hostile towards the federal troops. The atmosphere is tense and volatile, with both sides digging in for what will become a prolonged and bloody struggle. The events unfolding in Charleston are part of a larger narrative, one that will ultimately lead to the bloodiest war in American history. The die has been cast, and the fate of the Union hangs in the balance. As the Confederates besiege Fort Sumter, Major Robert Anderson and his Union troops prepare to defend their stronghold against all odds. The fort's walls are sturdy, but its supplies are limited, and the Confederates are determined to capture it. On April 12, 1861, at 4030 a.m., Confederate General P.G.T. Beauregard orders his batteries to open fire on Fort Sumter, marking the beginning of the Battle of Fort Sumter. The Union troops, consisting of just over 80 soldiers, return fire with their 21 guns, but they are vastly outnumbered and outgunned by the Confederates. The bombardment lasts for 34 hours, with the Confederates firing over 3,000 rounds at the fort. Despite being heavily outnumbered, the Union troops hold their ground, inflicting significant damage on the Confederate batteries. One of the most notable aspects of the Battle of Fort Sumter is the tactical innovation employed by the Confederates. They use a combination of land-based and sea-based artillery to attack the fort, including the use of mortars and rifled cannons. The Union troops, on the other hand, rely on their traditional smooth-bore cannons, which prove to be less effective against the Confederate batteries. As the battle rages on, the city of Charleston becomes a crucial factor in the conflict. The city's inhabitants, who have long been sympathetic to the Confederate cause, openly support the besieging forces, providing them with supplies and encouragement. The atmosphere is tense and volatile, with both sides digging in for what will become a prolonged and bloody struggle. On April 13, 1861, after 34 hours of bombardment, Major Anderson agrees to surrender Fort Sumter, citing the lack of supplies and the impossibility of holding out against the Confederate forces. The Union troops are allowed to evacuate the fort, marking a significant victory for the Confederacy and a decisive defeat for the Union. The Battle of Fort Sumter has far-reaching strategic consequences as it sets the stage for the American Civil War. The conflict will go on to claim the lives of over 600,000 soldiers and civilians, causing widespread destruction and chaos throughout the United States. The battle also marks a significant shift in the balance of power between the Union and the Confederacy, with the latter gaining momentum and confidence in their ability to challenge federal authority. The events unfolding in Charleston are part of a larger narrative, one that will ultimately lead to the bloodiest war in American history. In conclusion, the Battle of Fort Sumter marks a pivotal moment in American history, as it sets the stage for the conflict that will shape the nation's future. The bravery and determination of the Union troops, combined with the tactical innovation and strategic decisions made by the Confederates, make this battle a fascinating and complex topic to explore. In the immediate aftermath of the battle, the city of Charleston was filled with jubilation and celebration. The Confederate forces had achieved a significant victory, and the city's inhabitants saw it as a major milestone in their quest for independence. However, the reality of war soon set in, and the city began to feel the effects of the conflict. The Union naval blockade, which had been imposed on southern ports, including Charleston, severely limited the city's ability to trade and receive supplies. As the war dragged on, Charleston became a key target for Union forces. In 1863, Union troops launched a series of attacks on the city, including a siege of Fort Wagner, which was located on nearby Morris Island. The siege was marked by intense fighting and heavy casualties on both sides. The Union ultimately captured the fort, but at great cost. The war also had a devastating impact on the state of South Carolina. The conflict ravaged the state's economy, infrastructure, and population. Many of its citizens were killed or displaced, and its cities and towns were left in ruins. The state's agricultural sector, which had been a mainstay of its economy, was severely damaged, leading to widespread poverty and famine. At the national level, the Battle of Fort Sumter marked the beginning of a long and bloody conflict that would claim the lives of over 600,000 soldiers and civilians. The war would go on to shape the course of American history, leading to the abolition of slavery, the preservation of the Union, and a more centralized federal government. In the years following the war, the legacy of the Battle of Fort Sumter was deeply felt. The battle became a symbol of the Confederacy's defiance and determination, while also serving as a reminder of the devastating consequences of secession and civil war. Today, Fort Sumter is a national monument, operated by the National Park Service, and is a popular tourist destination. The bravery and determination of the soldiers who fought in the battle, combined with the strategic decisions made by their commanders, shaped the course of American history. As the historian David McCullough once said, the Battle of Fort Sumter was not just a battle, it was a turning point in American history, a moment when the fate of the nation hung in the balance. The conflict marked the beginning of a long and bloody civil war, which would go on to shape the course of American history. That's all for today's War Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, I'm General Biography reminding you to keep marching toward victory.